right now we have an exciting producer, director on the line who's about to give us some really good information, let us know what he's doing, and it's some exciting things that even my husband I know who's a vet, and he's really hitting on some really good points. So everybody put your hands together for none other than Mr. Stacy Holmes. Hey.
Well. Hello.
How are you?
How are you? I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're hanging on in there. It started raining today, but we all good. Here, Deshay, answer this real quick.
We are all good. I heard your husband on the radio, and best wishes, prayers, and everything else going out. And we know that it's already done. We already got the victory, and like you said earlier, this is just gonna bless somebody else.
Yes, so it is. That's what I have to. Yeah, that's what I have to believe, that it's a blessing for somebody else to hear his testimony and what he's going through and how he overcame. So. I just thank God for it. You have a production that you're working on in regards to the veterans and PTS. John,
Absolutely. I work for the D.C. Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. And about a year ago, I started a process. I was working with a gentleman out of Tulsa, Oklahoma by the name of David Earl Singleton, and he works with veterans down there. And he also works with a gospel artist up here in the Maryland area named Keith Childress. And they've done stuff for veterans in the past. And so they wanted to do a video to draw attention to veterans dealing with PTSD. Mm-hmm. And of course, I said, of course I would. I'd love to make a video for that. But being a creative person and one that works in the television business, I immediately said, but we can do more than that, We can do more. And in fact, that's Mr. Singleton's 501c3's name of his company called We Can Do More, because the bottom line is I think all of us have an opportunity to do more with what we have than maybe we think about or we can even imagine. So basically, to make a long story very short, a year ago, I started the process. I pitched the idea to my office, the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. And so we're basically a government channel for the D.C. government. Mm-hmm. And we do original programming and we do other things for the citizens of the district. But when this project came along, I said, this is something that we should do because there are veterans everywhere. Veterans serve us. And so regardless of the politics, regardless of what you think about war or anything else like that, the bottom line is that a veteran has made sacrifice. A veteran has given something for you, for us.
Yeah.
And not only the veteran's family, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Exactly.
So what we did was basically we put together a special in the tradition of the old Bob Hope USO specials back in the day. That I remember, but we got together, and last night we actually did the recording in our studio in Washington, D.C. We did our recording. Basically, and this is interesting, too. You might like this. I work in the D.C. Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment, which is in the old BET studio, which is our new studio. So we recorded this special, the American Vet PTS Awareness Special. We recorded it in the same studio that Donnie Simpson used to do Video Soul and all those classic television programs from BET came out of. That's the same studio that we recorded last night. So we recorded the program last night. It was a rousing success. I mean, we had veterans talking about PTSD. We had testimonials from veterans. We had some heart-touching information and stories of family members who have lost people to PTSD due to suicide. One of the most shocking statistics I heard in doing the research and learning about this is that there's an estimate of 22 veterans per day commit suicide.
Wow.
Which is that's mind-blowing. 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and those are only the veterans that we can absolutely say is due to PTSD. That doesn't count the ones who we don't know why they died.
Wow.
And that statistic alone tells you we need to do something to help our vets. So,
yeah, and for those who don't know what PTSD is, can you just give a little light into that?
PTSD PTSD is basically post-traumatic stress, and the D stands for disorder. The movement now is to drop the D because it's post-traumatic stress. And this special that we're doing is focusing on veterans dealing with post-traumatic stress. However, post-traumatic stress affects everybody in different ways. First responders, police officers, medical people that work in hospitals and trauma rooms and emergency rooms. Anybody that deals with traumatic experiences has the potential to be affected by PTSD, by post-traumatic stress. Now, the question is, how do you deal with it? How do you handle it? Because it is possible to live through and thrive through PTS, through post-traumatic stress. However, you have to reach out. You have to get support. And our whole special last night, the purpose of what we did was to come together to not only educate and make people aware of post-traumatic stress, of what it is. So we talked about the medical terms, what's happening, and there are physiological things going on in the brain, and there's different things that people cannot control, and your mind and your brain is a very powerful thing, and your brain takes care of itself. So your brain is trained to defend yourself and to fight or flight, and we've heard of those things where certain situations happen. Your brain tells you, we got to do something. So post-traumatic stress disorder is basically where your brain is doing something. However, maybe we have to redo it. You have to relearn things because you're no longer in a war zone. You're no longer in that life-threatening situation. So you have to learn how to control, and sometimes you have to reorder the things that you've been taught to do. So that's why it really affects veterans in a lot of ways that have been in combat situations, that have been in constant life or death situations. So that's what it is. And once again, our special, what we want to emphasize and what I want to emphasize to everybody that is listening to me speak right now is we want to emphasize the fact that you are not alone.
Exactly.
Those people dealing with it, you're not alone. There are people out there who care, who understand, who want to help. Family members, you are not alone. I know family members who they don't know what to do. They may have a spouse, they may have a friend, they may have a family member that has been in a situation where you know that something has changed, something is different about them. You know that they're not the same as they were before that traumatic experience. What I'm telling you is that you're not alone. It's not hopeless. There's something that can be done. Now, it may be difficult to find it, but you've got to reach out. The key is you got to ask for help. You got to take that first step.
Yeah.
And once you do that, people can help you.
Yeah, it's so funny because I have so many things, so many questions going on in my head at the same time. I can't get it out. But one of the things from your 6-minute episode, it showed how, they were sold the bill of goods of, that they were going to go get college and it was going to pay for their college, to pay for their books, get them a car and things like that. Some were just thinking, hey, I'm not ready to go to college. Maybe this is the best, option. But when they go in there, it's a whole different kind of story. Share a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, one of the veterans, he said that a lot of people go into the military for a lot of different reasons. Some people go in because it's a family tradition. Some people go in because they want to serve their country. After 9/11, they say the number of people that enlisted spiked. It went off the charts. So people do it for a lot of different reasons. Some people go into the military because they're looking for, like you said, a career. Some people go into the military because you remember those commercials back in the day, be all you can be at the Army, where they tell you, join the Army and it'll be great and it'll be great. And we do more in the Army at, before 6 a.m. than most people do all day. And some of that sounds really, really good. And for some people, that is the answer. That is a good thing for them. That's a great move for them. As a matter of fact, true story is I tried to enlist in the Army because I had difficulties in college after my first year. Just let me say I was grade point average challenged after my first semester of college. And I tried to join the service, but I never would have thought of it before. But I praise God right now that I was about 30 pounds overweight. So they told me, no, you can't get in here. So he said, and I guess God had a plan. He said, no, because I'm gonna use you 35 years later to make to produce a PTS special for the veterans. Yes. You don't need to be in the service. You need the help service. But so a lot of people join the service for different reasons. And the common thread is that all of these different people come together. It's an eclectic array of different races, nationalities, different people from different life views, from different world views, and they all come together and they serve. Mm-hmm. And then they go into treacherous situations sometimes, life-threatening situations, and some people just are never the same when they come back. Yeah. And once again, I want to stress this. The key is, what do you do when you realize that you're dealing with post-traumatic stress? And the veterans talked about it. Some of them recognize this while they're still in service. Mm-hmm. Some of them, one young lady talked about the fact that it was 4 years after she got out of the service that she realized, she was having nightmares and things like that when she went to get help. Mm-hmm. One of the other women spoke about the fact that it was 40 years after she got out of the service that she finally got help and realized that she was dealing with post-traumatic stress. So for 40 years, she went untreated, undiagnosed. But and as she said, I always knew that there was something not right, but I didn't know what it was. Yeah. I just knew there was something where things that were supposed to be happy weren't happy. Mm-hmm. So eventually she got the help that she needed, and so she's living through it, she's working through it, and there's no silver bullets, there's no magic potions where it's like, poof, you're all done, everything is great. Mm-hmm. It's a process, and different people have different things. There's tons of different therapies, there's tons of different ways. Yeah. That was something else that I learned that was interesting. Traditional medicine, mm-hmm. But some people don't like prescriptions. Mm-hmm.
You did mention something about cannabis. That was
the Cannabis Coalition is the Veterans Cannabis Coalition is a coalition that they're about cannabis, not pills, not prescriptions, mm-hmm. and they would rather use the natural use of cannabis mm-hmm. To treat some of their symptoms, which are, hyperarousal, where you're always on edge because you had to be when you were in a war situation. Mm-hmm. You always had to be on alert. Mm-hmm. But now you can't get off alert, so that you can't sleep. You're always, you're anxious. So cannabis is a way to help that, so that they can sleep, they can eat, they can get through things like that. There's other treatments like yoga. There's things like acupuncture. There's mm-hmm. a lot of different methods, but the key is that any veteran has to seek out what's going to work for them, because mm-hmm. something that works for this vet may not work for you.
Another. Well, one of the things that I find very disheartening is that none of our veterans should be suffering, being on the streets, being stuck in these hospitals the way that they are. And it's very disheartening to see, them hanging around and just going through, schizophrenia and things like that. I think we have done a disservice of not taking care of our veterans who have, like you said, have fought for this country, who has, given their all to be all they can be, and I just thank you for taking that step to bring some awareness to many people. It's one thing to... You said this lady, it took her 40 years to recognize she even had an issue, and when I usually talk to people, I usually like to getting down to the root, because usually when you go down to the root of the issue, that's how you can kind of recognize what is really going on,
Right.
So, and it takes people like you. My husband, I know, will be a great person to talk to, because he is a really great advocate for the veterans, of information that some of them may not know. One of the things that I can say, they have truly, truly taken care of my husband. There's no way in the world the treatments that he has had that he probably would have been able to afford had it not been for him being in the service.
Yes.
The couple of procedures when he was getting ready to have his first surgery, he was all ready to go up to anesthesia. They were getting ready to do the surgery when they caught something that was in his past that he had an issue with his spine. So had he gone through that surgery, it could have left him paralyzed for the particular surgery that they were doing, but they caught it. So that's one of the things that I really can. They are very, very thorough in what they do, and they have really been, taking really good care of him. So if, what's that, Saturday Night Live, where she said, "Can't nobody say nothing bad about Miss Jenkins. Can't nobody say nothing bad about the VA to me. Even though I know."
What? And I am so glad that you said that, because that is one of the key points that I've also learned too, is that the VA gets a bad rap. We've heard horror stories about the Veterans Administration. People talk about, well, the VA does this and they do that and they do this. The bottom line is there probably are a lot of ways that the VA can be improved. It's like any other massive organization, and the VA is probably one of the largest government agencies in the country. But the bottom line is that the VA is out there doing its best to help the veteran.
Yeah.
There are people in the VA who have dedicated their lives to helping veterans.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They don't do it because of necessarily to pay, because I don't think anybody's getting rich working at the VA.
Exactly.
And I work with for this special that we did, and I'm with the DC Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. But one of the only reasons that we were able to do this is because I reached out to the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs in Washington, D.C. And Mayor Bowser is the mayor of Washington, D.C., and she's a fantastic mayor, and she's a very progressive mayor, and she's interested in doing things, in a new way. She's a young, vibrant mayor, and she's like, we need to do things. Her office, the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, they immediately said, absolutely, we want to be a part of this.
Wow.
Absolutely, we want to do this. And the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs isn't a large office. It's a smaller office. However, they work tirelessly for the veterans of Washington, D.C., and I believe there are about 30,000 vets in D.C., over 30,000 vets in D.C.
Wow.
And that office does everything that they can do. The director, Eli Ross, and then also the communications director, his name is Elliot Tomingo. Elliot Tomingo and I have become great friends over the last year working on this project, because Elliot has, every step of the way, he has said, absolutely, we will do this, we will get this out, we will work on this, we will get this, we will get that. And without that partnership with the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, this would not have been possible, because the bottom line is that, the people have to be willing to do something. So they prove that they're willing to help the veterans. Now, it's also on the veterans. It's in the Veterans Court. And part of our special, we had a gentleman by the name of Kevin Coleman with KMC Empowerment, whose his tagline is inspire, motivate, and lead. That's what Kevin Coleman is all about. That's what KMC Empowerment is all about. Kevin was a part of last night's event because not only did we want to make people aware of PTS and what it is, not only did we want to talk about those veterans that are dealing with it and living with it and thriving with it, not only did we want to hear testimonies. However, the third element that I believe is crucial to this whole thing is that empowerment, is that now you got to do something with that information. And it's almost the kind of things that you guys preach. It's like, it's one thing to know something, it's another thing to do something about it. And until you do something, it's just words, And like one of the things Kevin said, knowledge is power. We all know that saying, but use knowledge is powerful.
Yeah.
And until we understand that, we're just going to be going through the motions and saying, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. And well, the bottom line is, you know what? There are people out there that are there to help you. You got to ask them for help.
Yeah.
There are people out there that have dedicated their life to treating and helping and doing what they can, but you've got to reach out. Nobody's going to come and drag you into the VA. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And then also to, like, once again, to the family members, to friends, to people out there, you have a responsibility. If you know something's going on with your buddy, talk to him. Find out what's going on. Don't just assume that, well, he'll get over it. Or one of the things that I heard veterans say that really gets to them is when people will say, oh, man, the war's over. Get over it. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, One of the gentlemen said, I was in Iraq, and then, 3 weeks later, I'm on the streets of Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Transitioning is not easy. It's not like a flick the switch and all of a sudden, okay, everything's good. No, it's a process,
Exactly.
and it's different for everybody. So we have to understand that as civilians. We have to be aware of people we work with, co-workers. I had another gentleman friend of mine who's a veteran, and he said one of the things that we just need to do as a public is be aware of people's situations. If somebody is having difficulty with something, you go on it, you allow for that. You allow them to have the space that they need. You allow them to deal with their situation the way they want to deal with it, and stop trying to make somebody fit into what you think they should do, because you have no idea what somebody else has been through.
Yes, exactly.
We have no idea the pain somebody's seen. And once again, not just veterans, we're talking about anything. I think they've even said something about people that grow up in slum areas or the ghetto or the hood. Sometimes I heard somebody say that they call it the hood disease. But people are affected by their situation. People are traumatized in different ways, and people deal with it in different ways.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to be helpful and not judgmental and not look down on somebody because they have a difficulty with something. So
exactly. Hopefully, maybe, you've done it out there. Maybe we can kind of collaborate and do something out here with the veterans out here.
Absolutely.
We definitely will talk, because this is something that needs to be shared. We need more positive, documentaries, stories, movies out there than what's being put out there right now. So I appreciate you for calling in, and we will talk again, because next week, he was supposed to come today, but he just had some dental work done. So he was like, Crystal, I'm talking a little crazy, and that wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be cute. So he's going to come next week, and he deals with the homeless, and I'm sure he's seen a lot with the veterans. He used to have something called the Dome Village out here in California, and they closed it down, and it just behooves me how there's so much trying to look what to do with these homeless when he already had the answer with the Dome Village. So why are you looking? And he's been trying to fight Washington for years about this, and they've been giving him the pushback. So we're going to have him come on. He even took on the road of being homeless so he can understand the homeless, and that's why he's such a great advocate of it. So we can have you call in again next week. We can talk about it and stop talking about it. Let's be about it and do something,
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, so thank you.
I already told the people at my job that they'll be mad if they hear this, but I already told them this was the first year. Next year it's going to be even bigger. So
that's right.
Let's take this thing out there to the world. Like I like to say, it's 12:01. We got work to do. Let's go, baby.
That's right.
Let's go.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, everybody. Once again, this is Stacy Holmes, and you'll be hearing from him again next week. So let's give him a hand. Where my claps at, Deshay? All right. All right. So we look forward to hearing from you. You have a great weekend, and thank you so much for calling in.
You too. Bye-bye.
All righty. So, you guys, it's so much work that needs to be done out there. And, when our clear people, when they see that something needs to be done, they don't just talk about it, they do it. If they don't like something coming in their neighborhood, they do something about it. It's time for us as a people to stop talking about it and be about it. So it's a big work that needs to be done. So we're going to do it. So without further ado, we got our special guest in the house. Woo!